Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a daycare is under the lens as some former workers claim there was abuse at the workplace. And Governor Basher is joining the fight to reclassify marijuana as a Schedule III drug.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Calfee. The time is 5:30 on Thursday, July 18th. Now let's go ahead and send it over to meteorologist Tim Drawbridge for a look at your forecast this morning.
Good morning, Olivia. Good morning, everyone. Can hear the rain coming down to the roof at WYMT, and 72 outside our door. And because of the intensity of the rainfall, visibility is running a little low. And yeah, there's a little fog involved too. But take the pedal off the metal. We don't want anybody hydroplaning this morning. Temperature-wise, lower 70s pretty much the rule of thumb. Across the Commonwealth, across the state line into Virginia, Clintwood, NY 67 and 64 respectively. And the pinpoint Doppler radar shows the heaviest of rainfall from southern portions of Pike County, 460s. You make your way back through Jenkins into Cumberland, into Harlan. This is tracking through the rest of Harlan County as we approach the top of the hour. We look back to the north and west. Things lighten up as you make your way. London, Sturgeon, up toward Conway, and as you creep closer to Madison County. Now, high pressure gradually builds in tonight, setting the stage for many of us to have a dry day for tomorrow. Notice I said many, not all. Here's your forecast for today. Everything winds down midday, then turning partly sunny, and the humidity starts to drop. Forecast high and hazard up to 81. A look ahead through the weekend with the First Alert 7-day forecast as we head through this half hour. Olivia?
All right, Tim, thank you. Crews have recovered the body of a missing teen from the Kentucky River. The 16-year-old went missing late Tuesday afternoon at the Fort Boonesboro State Park, close to the riverbank. That part of the river had a public beach at one point, but it was closed to swimming in 1993. Police have not released the teen's name. The name has been released of the 14-year-old who was killed following a shooting in Estill County. The Estill County coroner says Jet Ballard of Madison County was the teen that was shot and killed. Ballard was shot by a 13-year-old. That incident happened at a home on Clark Road in Estill County. Two separate incidents are being investigated at Fort Knox after a death and an assault happened during cadet summer training. On June 27th, a cadre captain died during his time at training. Officials say his death is not directly related to training exercises. He's been identified as Captain Samuel Davila, an assistant professor of military science at California State Polytechnic University. The investigative unit is also looking into a reported assault that briefly stopped cadet training on July 11th. Officials say they can't release any more details until their investigation is complete. A former employee of Kids Being Kids Daycare in Corbin claims she witnessed troubling behavior from the daycare's director and reported it to the state. The employee's report alleges on June 20th, the director started, quote, smacking one of the kids. The former employee says shortly after filing the report, she was terminated.
On July 5th, whenever everybody picked up the checks, there was letters in the check saying that we are terminated for unsatisfactory work. And she won't, give any of us an explanation on why she fired us.
She says she had the other employees who reported the incident were fired. The Cabinet for Health and Family Services confirmed they are investigating a situation involving Kids Being Kids Daycare, but they have not released any other information. Our sister reached out to Kids Being Kids in Corbin for comment. They told the employees were fired for unsatisfactory work and say they are cooperating with the state. An Eastern Kentucky doctor is sentenced to prison for prescribing drugs without proper exams. The Lexington Herald Leader reports Jason Stamper admitted to distributing amphetamine without a legitimate medical reason. He practiced in Pikeville. His plea agreement says he prescribed drugs used to treat ADHD to an undercover officer. He only checked his vitals before writing prescriptions. He'll serve 2 years and 8 months in prison. A Wayne County man is facing multiple charges after police found drugs and guns during an extensive search. It started Tuesday night just before midnight after police noticed Ricky Gardner committing a traffic violation. He was pulled over. Police found what was suspected to be meth and a glass smoking pipe during a search of his vehicle. Deputies later searched his home, finding several other items, including digital scales and a police scanner. A man is facing charges after police say they found drugs on him in Floyd County. It happened on July 5th when police were patrolling the Dodson Branch area. After they received complaints about a road being blocked, police came across Randall Minor. Minor later went inside a home after police were talking to some people. After receiving consent, police went inside and found Minor hiding under a pile of clothes in a bedroom closet. J.D. Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, has been a topic of controversy for Appalachian readers since it was released in 2016. Many are taking another look at it since he is now a vice presidential candidate. WIMT's Chandler Wilcox tells us about the opposing takes on the book.
Since it was published in 2016, the message portrayed by Hillbilly Elegy has been debated.
But he emphasized over and over that he told his story, and his story is the story of overcoming all of those challenges that his family faced.
Bowling says people need to digest the book before forming opinions.
It's important to understand, people need to read the book. Read the book, digest the book, and see what it says to you. And I think that's what really has been missing. A lot of the people who don't like the book are basing their opinions on other people's statements.
Bowling says he thought it was an accurate portrayal of his family. On the opposing side, Kendra Winchester, who read Hillbilly Elegy and created a resource to find Appalachian books, says the book took on a more broad meaning.
I think when we see a subtitle that says a memoir of a family and culture in crisis, we get an inkling that something a bit bigger is going on here.
Winchester says the book does not mention disadvantages Appalachians may face.
He doesn't talk about the corporations that have taken advantage of Appalachia, the extractive industries, or the pharma companies that particularly targeted Appalachia.
Winchester also says Vance's stereotypes revolve around the idea that working hard enough will lead to success. In Hazard, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Hillbilly Elegy has topped Amazon's bestseller list again. Kentucky poet laureate and Eastern Kentucky native Silas House has some strong reaction to J.D. Vance being picked as Trump's vice presidential candidate. He said on social media, quote, J.D. Vance should not be held up as a representative of Appalachia or working class people, as his book Hillbilly Elegy displayed a contempt for both groups. As a candidate, senator, and now the Republican nominee for vice president, Vance has shown that his fidelity is not to the Constitution, but to Donald Trump and Project 2025. He is not fit to hold the office of vice president. Governor Andy Beshear has sent a letter to the head of the DEA expressing his support for the federal reclassification of marijuana. The governor is asking the DEA to follow the recommendation of the Department of Health and Human Services to reschedule cannabis from a Schedule 1 narcotic to a Schedule 3. Beshear says the move will provide patients and an alternative to deadly opioids, and that improving access to safe products will reduce crime. Yesterday's letter says in part the jury is no longer out on marijuana. It has medical uses and is currently being used for medical purposes. The recognition is overwhelming and bipartisan. Kentucky's medical marijuana program is scheduled to begin January 1st. A new law tackling the high mortality rate of Kentucky mothers went into effect this week. The legislation expands health care access for new and expecting mothers. Pregnancy is now considered a qualifying life event for health insurance coverage. The law also establishes a psychiatric hotline called the Kentucky Lifeline for Moms.
It can mean the difference between life and death, quite literally. And so because we are implementing this Lifeline for Moms, kind of a direct connection to that mental health treatment.
Other sections of the law require Medicaid to cover lactation, consulting, breastfeeding equipment, and in-home and telehealth services. A health fair in Floyd County brought programs to the community yesterday, hoping to help connect folks with the things they need. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has more from the Wayland Gymnasium.
A community outreach all about creating access.
I've always wanted to come back to this community and help. This is where I grew up. This community built me, so why wouldn't I want to come back and help this community?
Appalachian Regional Healthcare and its partners hosted a community health fair Wednesday.
Getting health care out to people and getting information and knowledge. Knowledge is power, and if they won't come to me, I'll come to them.
The event brought some of the ARH programs to the people of Wayland.
It has a hometown feel. I think people are comfortable to come through the doors. They know they're going to see faces that they're familiar with. This is home for people.
Showing them what is available in their own backyards, encouraging them to educate and evaluate when it comes to their own health.
Some people are kind of apprehensive about coming and checking out, like especially our program, because it is mental health, and they're not aware of some of these other resources that we have available in the community. And this is kind of a good way to get everybody all together and see all of those resources at once.
Officials say community-centered programs like this are not only needed but necessary.
That's better than treating them for sickness. If we can do the health, wellness, and fitness piece correctly, and we can identify issues before they become the problem.
Keeping people happy and healthy right here at home. In Floyd County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
The program also included information about the Floyd County School District and included Narcan training. When we return, Adele fans might be in for another long wait for new music as the singer does not have any plans to make more.
And the pinpoint Doppler radar already very active on this Thursday morning. The question is, does it stay active as we head into the afternoon? We'll let you know. Your first alert 7-day forecast is coming up as your WYMT Mountain Morning News continues.